Hello again, and welcome to Exploring Who We Are as Consciousness. And in this segment, we're going through these 12 steps, which are really reminders of who and what we really are. And so that's the thing. Today, we're going to be discussing the mind. And this, what we're talking about, comes out of a focus on our own common everyday experience of waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and repeating that cycle over again, that there's a deeper I that we want to access. And that, in our focus here, is a way of transcending stress. The picture behind me with the heart was steps about transforming stress. Now, this is about transcending, which is something that we all have within us, an area that is beyond stress and suffering. Call it the spirit, consciousness, awareness, whatever we call it. I want to make this point before we go into today's steps. That which we are cannot be known. Now, it goes back in the tradition, an ancient tradition of the sages, 800 BC, who in the Upanishads were talking about that what cannot be seen with the eyes, but that whereby the eyes are able to see. No, that alone is spirit, is consciousness, and not what people here tend to adore. What cannot be heard with the ears, but that whereby the ears can hear, know that again to be consciousness, spirit, and not what people here adore. And what cannot be thought with the mind, but that whereby the mind is able to think. No, that alone is consciousness, spirit, and not what people here adore. Now, they use the word Brahman, which we'll get into another time, but basically that's a term in Sanskrit which translates as kind of spirit, or the vast is more accurate, the vast. And so we have a vastness to us, our foundation in consciousness. Now, when we do this, we're using words, obviously. And one of my mentors gave these words to a doctoral committee member of mine at a workshop for 2 weeks we did with this grand master of therapy, Dick Olney. And Dick Olney said to my friend Les, who tend to be intellectualizing, he said, Les, try this sentence on. Words are the withered leaves I fling into my spirit's bubbling spring. So words can't do justice to who we are. It can't be spoken about because we are the subject, and all this is object. All of this are objects. And they're inner objects, where they're thoughts, feelings, sensations, or outer objects, meaning people, places, things, trees, plants, stars, galaxies, anything that we speak about is an object. So, words we have to use in order to try to learn this, to try to have as Eckhart Tolle would call it, a pointer, or pointing to a direction to what's back here. So when we withdraw our attention, our focus from three areas of experience: mind, thoughts, including feelings, as well as connected with the body, which we experience as sensations, basically pleasurable and painful, and the world, which we experience as sights, sounds, tastes, touches, smells. So in that regard, all that we experience, we could say, I am that in which all this is appearing. Mind, body, world. And I am that which is appearing as all this. Mind, body, world. Now that's a little trickier to get to, but we'll get to it at another point. So for today, what we're doing is simply this. Last time I asked you to consider how you're not your body, how your body's changing, and how you, that stable, enduring you, does not change. Also, I use the analogy that was a synchronicity for me that was given to me by my car breaking down in Maine, which I mentioned, and an episode of The Simpsons where Bart lost his soul and had no life in him, no energy. Life was drab, and until he got his soul back. And so, as I was saying, our body is a lifeless mass of matter without the spark provided by the battery. Let me back up again. I did it this way. Our car is a lifeless mass of matter without the spark provided by the battery that ignites the engine and keeps it alive. So our body is a lifeless mass of matter without the spark provided by consciousness, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that ignites the body in a sense and keeps it alive. So that when you see a corpse, the eyes, they're like a flameless wick. There's no flame. There's no spark. Okay, so in that regard, what we're looking at is ways to remind this, because all the work is here. I've spent my lifetime working with people in psychotherapy to help them heal their minds, basically, which will also can heal your body in ways, but to heal the mind. And so what we're doing, if you look at the word reminder or remind, there's mind in it. So remind. So we're really recognizing, being reminded of something that's already there, but because we're so outward focused, we miss it. There was one little story from this tradition that goes back many, many centuries to the ancient sages, who basically just brought us to look at our common everyday experience. That we didn't need to have a mystical experience, some extraordinary experience. However, I've been blessed to have some that would be considered paranormal and so forth, which I'll bring in at times that seem to, for me, really validate these teachings. Okay, so when we look at our common everyday experience, that which is looking is what we are. Okay, so today's statements would be considered in this context. If you think of the body and the car analogy, so you wouldn't say as the driver of a car, I'm my car. You're the driver and there's the car. Okay, in that regard then, so in a sense we can consider the mind is the driver making choices about what's happening for the body. And so in that way, we can see that clearly. I'm driving the car, making choices, and the body is responding. Now, so with that in mind, today we're going to be taking a look at this. Now, these are the steps. Breathing in, I am not this mind. Why? Pause. As you exhale, because my mind is changing. It's an ever-changing stream of thoughts. And who I am is stable and enduring. It's unchanging. I am not my body. Why? Because my body is seen. I'm not my mind. Why? Because my mind is seen by me. I see these thoughts. The thought, the sky is blue, does that thought see me or do I see it? Breathing in, I am not my mind. Why? Because my mind is experienced by me. Does the thought, it's raining today, is that experiencing me or do I experience it? Any thought, 2 + 2 = 4, is that experiencing me or do I experience it? And then, I am not my body. Why? Because my body is known by me. I'm the knower and the body is the known. Now these steps are not the ultimate truth, but they're getting us to disentangle, uproot our identification with mind and body. Now with the car analogy, then what happens is I am really not the driver and I'm not the car. I'm that in which the driver and the car are appearing. I am that underlying awareness or consciousness, that light of awareness, that light of consciousness. So, in a sense, as I'm sitting here now, here I am sitting, here's my body, I'm having thoughts, but I'm essentially like the empty space of the room. And that empty space of the room is unaffected by the objects. I could jump up and down as a body, making decisions as a mind, but that spaciousness of the room is unaffected. And that empty space of a room is a good analogy for what we are. So here I am driving the car, the mind's driving the body, the car, and I am that in which all this around it, that awareness in which it's primary. Another way to look at it is I am like a TV screen or a movie screen or the screen in which you're seeing me. That screen is the background on which I'm appearing. Without the screen, there's no me here. So as you look at your computer screen, you are more like the screen than you are the pictures, the objects on the screen. Just contemplate that some. I am more like, so I'm watching a movie. I am more like the screen on which the movie's appearing. Drama, blow-ups, car wrecks, love scenes, all this is appearing and disappearing on me, the screen. Or all this is happening within me, the spaciousness of awareness, the empty room, the empty space. So the car is driving down, and you could think of yourself as I am that which is like the sky, witnessing the driver and the car moving down the highway. So again, words are the withered leaves we fling into our spirit's bubbly spring. And we need these words to kind of point to this. Now, all of this comes out of a tradition, psychology-wise, going back to William James. And he, the father of American psychology, wrote the book, The Varieties of Religious Experience. Now, he studied a variety of religious experiences and ceremonies and rituals, and some of which I participated in when I studied with the Mayan shamans in Guatemala and Mexico. And these ceremonies help us get past and beyond our mind, so we can witness what's going on. We can access a deeper I, not the I that's a little I think this, I'm that, but that which is broader. It connects us with all of life. So consciousness, in a sense, is a connecting. It's a calm place within us. It's a connecting place. It's a caring place. It's a continuous place. And so that consciousness has those qualities that we have. And so what you're doing is you're just trying to remind your mind how to access those qualities within and transcend the stress. Okay, so after William James, with his study, then in the 70s, the humanistic psychology movement started, and that began with Abraham Maslow, toward a psychology of being, and his Farther Reaches of Human Nature, those two books. And in those, he really tries to take a look at healthy people. Up to that point, with behaviorism and with psychoanalysis and giants like Freud and Jung, he starts to look at more positive things. Maslow, of course, Jung was influenced by Eastern thought, and he, in his psychology, saw us in our development moving from an ego-based identification with mind to a capital S self center that's broader, and it ties in with this. Okay, so this week, your focus is on the mind. And one of the things that's interesting is that Fritz Perls, the father of Gestalt therapy, used to say, lose your mind and come to your senses. Meaning, get out of your head and experience life. So when you smell the rose, you see the rose, you don't start thinking about your roses, your aunt's rose garden, and then suddenly your mind or your eyes are glazed over and you're looking at objects in your mind instead of here, being in touch and feeling the liveness in your body. And so basically, we're going to, in a sense, the parable, the story of Adam and Eve and about the casting out of paradise Oh, this is Penny Lane. She wants to be in my lap today, so she wants to say hello. Say hi, Penny. And if you're a Beatles fan, yeah, you know the name Penny Lane. She's in your eyes and she's in your ears. Anyway, so Adam and Eve get thrown out of the garden, as the story goes, and why? Because they eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is the tree of opposites, which is a tree of duality, which is I like this, I don't like that. And the mind is constantly chattering. We have a sports commentator in our head all the time calling the game of our life. So what you're going to be doing this week is stepping back and noticing that you're something other than this commentator. And sometimes you might see other options than what the commentator is making. And so in some forms of therapy, cognitive behavioral, for example, I would ask people, what are you telling yourself to feel anxious? And what can you tell yourself to feel better? And so we have the choice. As a center of consciousness, we can choose which thoughts we have and choose better, more accurate thoughts, more effective thoughts to deal with stress. Okay, so all that ties together about reminding ourselves we are not the mind, and from that place we can make choices. Roberto Saggioli, who I told you about with Psychosynthesis, his book, I have a mind, but I am not my mind. My mind is constantly changing, thoughts are flowing through it, but I am not my mind. And so there's other thinkers along the way that have addressed this that go way back to the Upanishads. And Schopenhauer, one of my favorite philosophers, had said that he was very much into the study of this. And he said, I know of no more important study than the study of these Upanishads. They have been the solace of my life, and they will be the solace of my death. So this week, disidentify from your mind. So the steps are, I am not my mind. Why? Exhale, because my mind is changing and I'm unchanging. I'm not my mind. Why? Because my mind is seen. The thoughts are seen. And I am that which sees. I'm the seer, not the seen. Breathing in, I'm not my mind. Why? Because my mind is experienced and I am that which experiences. I'm not my mind. Why? Because my mind is known and I am the knower. With that, have a great week, and I'll see you next week.